Good evening, Concord Township, and welcome to the Concord Township Board of Trustees meeting for September 2nd, 2020. We're going to call the meeting to order. And if you join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Dawson, the roll call, please.
Mr. McIntosh.
Present.
Mrs. Lucci.
Present.
Mr. Dondorfer.
Present. Okay, we are going to move into the approval of the minutes for our August 19th, 2020 regular trustee meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the minutes as written for the August 19th meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to our elected officials report. Starting us off this evening will be our fiscal officer, Mrs. Dawson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dondorfer. As of August 31st, we were 76% of the way through the calendar year. The treasury balance for the 19 active funds within the township treasury was $8 million. That's because we just received our real estate, our second half of our real estate revenue for the year. Treasury balance includes $1.2 million in funds set aside for specific projects. The unencumbered balance in the JED fund right now is $1.4 million. Okay, we don't have an excess in the JED fund. We have $1.4 million. Take approximately $4 million to build Fire Station 2, and we would have to save $850 per year in the JED fund in order to be able to do that. We get paid monthly, so we get a small amount monthly. We probably get $50,000 at the beginning of the year, beginning of the month, and then we get like a $13,000 payment. And I'm being very average here; it depends on the month. Toward the 15th of the month, so we don't get a big payment of $850,000 every year, and that's been growing steadily. We started off with $100,000 a year, so. It takes time to accumulate money if you're going to use that for any kind of capital purchase in that fund. Year-to-date expenditures are 53% of the amount appropriated for 2020, and revenue received year-to-date is 89%, which again includes the receipt of the second half of our real estate taxes. This real estate tax revenue, which is the majority of our revenue, we will not be receiving that again until late February 2021, and that's when we'll get our next advance, so that we can continue to make payroll the first quarter of next year. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call my office at 354-7516.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank
Dawson.
you.
And moving into the trustees report, Mrs. Lucci.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer. I did have a few discussions with residents regarding our fire station, just general questions about the levy and aspects of the project, and those were very great discussions. Appreciate that. I did visit a resident on a street that had some complaints about their road. We were looking into that. Our service director handled that right away, so we'll have some responses to that. I also attended for the Ohio Township Association Leadership Academy. They had a Federal Day virtual online, which I attended a half-a-day session to that. We did get a visit today by the community garden, and they offered us some vegetables. So we want to thank them. This is this is what I took. So thank you very much. We understand those gardeners are just great people to work with, and we really thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci. Mr. McIntosh.
Yes, I as well. I think we've all been starting to take a lot of questions about the fire levy, and it's encouraging. I'm overwhelmed to see some of the support we've got in the community, and it's refreshing to see that. I think some of our interactions and stakeholder meetings, and that's helped. I also attended the Ohio Township Association Federal Day, working towards earning that leadership certificate with the OTA. I know we've had some questions regarding road repairs. I've talked with a number of different places in the township, some water problems, ongoing zoning conversations. Ms. Lucci and I did attend a homeowners association meeting last week, got to meet one of the homeowners boards. It's always great to see I looked at this situation, and being a trustee is a lot of work, and that at condo association, I thought, man, that looks like it's more work than this. It's they do a lot of good stuff, and that's how our community stays as great as it is. So I also did have a chance to stop by the fire scene we had last week off Mountain Park Drive. I was on my way back from an appointment in Mentor, and I decided that I wanted to see the guys in action. So I had an opportunity to walk all the way back from Mountain Park Drive.
Yeah.
It's quite a hike, and as hot as it was that day, I can't just imagine how much it was to drag all that hose back there. I kept walking thinking, am I going to get to this house or what?
Right.
So really got an opportunity to see everything in action, and it was just great to see the guys doing a great job. They were on scene for a long time. And I'd also like to thank the Concord Community Garden Group that dropped off the vegetables. That was very generous of them, and I know they wanted a short appreciation, so thank you for that.
Yeah, I would also like to thank the Concord Community Garden Group. We really appreciate fresh vegetables today. I did field a few calls over since the last meeting. I did look into a road issue from one of our residents in Concord that we're working with Tim Brown from the Service Department, as well as a lighting issue over from another resident on Pinecrest that hopefully we'll have remedied in short order. And I'd also like to thank our first responders, not only the firefighters, but our representatives at the Sheriff's Department, our deputies that are out there. Did receive a call from a resident this evening on the way here to the meeting, who indicated how pleased she was. About 3 weeks ago, she in one of the storms, she had a tree that crashed through her house and caused significant damage. She commended the firefighters and Lake County Sheriff's Department on prompt response, as well as their professionalism while on scene. And we'd like to thank everybody for doing a great job out there. With that, we will move into department reports and administration. Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer, members of the board, Mrs. Dawson, members of the audience, both here and listening in virtually. Good evening. I would like to start out by covering a few items related to the fire stations project. Then I will move into some other general items. There was a question that was brought up at the stakeholder meetings regarding the use of the Auburn Career Center students and their ability to possibly perform some of the work in order to save some costs, and also for the students to gain valuable experience. We're specifically talking about the students that were in the construction program at Auburn Career Center. I reached out to Auburn Career Center. I had a very good discussion with Mr. Bob Hill. He is the director of the construction program there at Auburn. He stated that students are only allowed to work on the sanctioned projects through the actual Career Center. As most of us know, the Auburn Career Center, their construction students build houses, but those houses that they construct are all built on Auburn Career Center owned property. So even the house that's not co-located with Auburn Career Center, they hold title to that property when they construct the project, and then once it's completed, then they divest themselves of the house with the property, and it's a liability concern, so that's not going to be a feasible option after discussions with Auburn Career Center. Another point that was brought out at the stakeholder meeting was the use of metal buildings and or metal construction in order to reduce costs. After discussions with fire chief, deputy chief, and our architectural team, this option, and I think we've stated this before, but this option will be evaluated during the design development phase of the project, which hasn't started yet, but this option will be fully explored to look at what options are best for the Concord Township fire stations. The last thing regarding fire stations I want to touch on is the cost per square foot issue. I've been a little bit bothered by the claims of an outside group stating that our projected construction costs are nearly double the national average. That's simply not true. I utilized the exact source referenced by the outside group in their previous literature mailer piece, and I was able to obtain a report from the exact same source, and that source is RS Means. They have construction cost estimation software. The data set that we ran does not cover line items such as land acquisition, site work, exterior work not attached to the building, such as parking lots, sidewalks, landscaping and lighting, utilities that are brought in from the right-of-way to the building, such as electrical, sewer, sanitary, natural gas. And it doesn't cover contractor overhead costs because those fluctuate and you can plug those in, but we left those out of this projection. After discussions with, I called RS Means, and after discussions with an RS Means company representative regarding their estimating software, there are ways to include this information into the data set, but that's usually not done until a general contractor is ready to prepare his bid so he can help use it for his bid numbers. So based on this information, I worked with our architectural team. I also discussed this matter with several local construction and engineering related firms in order to reconcile our latest cost estimate. That's the one dated July 24th of 2020. It's currently posted on our website and has been, to remove the elements to match the RS Means criteria from the report that I received. It turns out that the projected cost per square foot are right in line with what RS Means software estimated, the estimated projection is. In addition, to ensure a proper comparison, I took it a step further. I had the report run specifically for Northeast Ohio, not nationally, and I also had it designated specifically for fire station construction. The RS Means software has the ability to do that. It boils down to this: we're not nearly double the national average. That's false information that's being distributed. So that concludes my 3 line items on the fire station project. Moving on to some other items I'd like to cover. On the agenda is a vote to approve granting $3,000 of our CARES Act funds to the Fair Housing Resource Center. These funds are to be utilized towards maintaining the tenant landlord hotline. It's a very well used, very often used hotline that a lot of our Lake County residents do utilize. A request was received from the county administrator and the director of Lake County Fair Housing, and it was sent to all Lake County communities. So I'm asking for a favorable vote on that. The JED administrator and I, we've had a couple of virtual meetings with Team NEO representatives in order to determine how to best recruit light manufacturing into our township, and this is specifically for the area along Discovery Lane. Local schools have started back this week, and I believe Riverside is next week. We'd like to wish the teachers and the students great success as they begin the new school year. Just a reminder to all of our residents to please slow down and keep an extra watchful eye now that we've got kids out near the road during bus pickup and drop-off times. We would like to welcome the following new businesses for investing in our community. Concord Collision at 7505 Ravenna Road, the Institute for Spine Incorporated at 8007 Auburn Road, Suite 2, and Dr. Vanek with Menor Plastic Surgery at 7537 Friedel Drive, and we wish you all great success here in Concord Township. Our annual Shred Day, it's always a very popular event. It is scheduled for Saturday, September 26th, from 10 a.m. to noon. There are some procedural changes this year due to COVID restrictions. We are going to ask residents to remain in their vehicle and have their materials that need to be shredded placed in the trunk or hatchback area of the vehicle. When you pull up, a township employee will remove the boxes for you. This year, residents will not be able to watch the shredding as they have in years past, and your boxes will not be returned. If you wish to have a certificate of destruction, we can certainly do that, so please let the township employee that's removing the items from your vehicle know. This event is open to township residents, and there's a limit of 3 legal-sized boxes per resident. If you need more information, please visit the township website or give us a call, 354-7500, and we'll be happy to go back over the Community Shred Day with you. Finally, this weekend is Labor Day, so township offices will be closed on Monday, September 7th. On a personal note, I will be on vacation this Friday and Tuesday in conjunction with the long weekend. I will be offline and not reachable for several days. I am going off the grid, as they say, for a little bit. And I'd like to wish everyone a safe and pleasant Labor Day weekend. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Moving on to our fire department, Chief Sabo.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of August, we had a total of 217 events. Highlighting some of them, in EMS, we had 144 patient contacts with 106 transports to local hospitals. We had 8 fire events. In Concord, we had 1 structure fire. And outside of Concord, we had 6 structure fires and 1 cooking fire. We gave mutual aid 15 times and received mutual aid 8 times. Our Fire Prevention Bureau has been really busy as the schools get back. They've been out in the schools, but they completed 56 inspections, accounting for about 98 hours. All the schools and preschools in Concord Township have been inspected and they're ready for session. So I want to send a special thank you to our Fire Prevention Bureau. They did a fantastic job working with the schools and helping them with guidance through COVID. They had also 34 past inspections, 8 inspections passed with comments, 6 with discrepancies, 2 correction notices issued, and 1 follow-up inspection. There's 4 pending inspections, 1 failed, and they also did 2 plan reviews. And they spent about 10 hours in continuing education and training. And they also performed 1 fire investigation in Concord Township. One of our inspectors, our full-time inspector, is a certified fire investigator. So it's nice to have him on staff. In public education, they installed 1 residential lockbox and there were 2 returned. Just to touch base on the 1 structure fire, this was the fire on Mountain Park Drive that Mr. McIntosh referred to. I want to specifically thank the Lake County Sheriff's Office for their assistance in the investigation and on scene, as well as the Lake County Eastern FIU team, Fire Investigation Unit, and Tim Brown and the Service Department. Without their help, that would have been a really long night, and they made it a lot easier for us, so I appreciate their help. Currently, the fire is still under investigation. It was ruled suspicious. It was designated, so the investigation found that it was juvenile involved, and they have 2 people that they're 2 people of interest that they're speaking with. So they turned it around really quick, and so but the investigation still remains open. Unfortunately, due to an error on my side, I had a presentation put together. I wanted to talk just briefly about some of the grants that we've received over the years, specifically back to 2010, just to give you an overview. The major grants, governmental grants that we've received come from FEMA through the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, or AFG, the Ohio Department of Public Safety, the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation, and the Ohio Department of Commerce State Fire Marshal. Those are the major grant funders that we deal with on the government level. In the private sector, we have been involved with grants from Firehouse Subs, the Elks, McDonald's, NOPEC, and Walmart, just to name a few. So we appreciate the public sector and private sector funders that help keep our operational costs down. The grant proposal or the grant writing process really is a team effort in the firehouse between the firefighters, the fiscal office, and the grant writers. We have Karen Pierce, our administrative assistant, does much of the legwork of this for us, along with one of our firefighters, one of our new hire firefighters that is skilled at grant writing. The major impact when we determine whether or not to go for a grant, our needs, our departmental needs, have to line up with the funder's priorities, and that doesn't always happen. So if our needs line up with funder priorities, usually we get a favorable outcome. If our needs don't line up, then we don't get a favorable outcome. So when we look at a grant, we take the time to look at our needs and look at the requirements of that grant to see what our likelihood of success is going to be. If it's a high likelihood, then we invest the time. It's usually about 90 hours of work over a short amount of time to put a grant application together. Some of them are easier, some of them are more intensive, like the FEMA grant. Just to give you a summary of grant awards, since 2010, we have been awarded over $700,000 in grants, and our match has been $55,000 to receive that $700,000. That includes the Assistance to Firefighter Grant, the EMS Training and Equipment Grant, Safety Intervention, and then Firefighter Training Grant. The largest of our government awards has come through the Assistance to Firefighters Grant. This is funded by the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA. These awards have funded a wide range of firefighting and EMS equipment, and this program does not fund buildings. They did once in 2009, and they do not do that anymore. AFG is an extremely competitive grant with an extensive application process and a long waiting period for approval. We have applied to that 9 times since 2002 and have received 6 awards for such items as traffic preemption systems, power cuts and load systems for our ambulances, station direct capture exhaust removal systems for both stations, extrication equipment, thermal imaging cameras, command training programs, smoke alarms for our residents, lock boxes, and a fire extinguisher simulator. In addition to that, we've applied for regional grants and have been awarded regionally for station alerting systems and self-contained breathing apparatus. So a regional grant is multiple departments working together and putting a collective ask together. The Ohio Department of EMS uses fees from seatbelt fines to fund its training and equipment grant, and we have received funding from this program yearly over the past 10 years, receiving $32,000 for a variety of direct care EMS equipment and EMS training equipment, such as our CPR mannequins. The Bureau of Workmen's Compensation grants availability and funding levels are all based on our township's payroll. We've received awards of $56,000 for the purchase of power cots and load systems for our squads, an extractor washing machine for gear, and we've also received funding for fire particulate hoods that are worn under the firefighters' helmets to protect them from heat and toxic chemicals. The Ohio State Fire Marshal provides grant funds for specific fire training. When our trainings meet the funding criteria, we apply for these grants and have received $1,700 to cover our training costs. Firehouse subs on the private sector, we have received 2 awards from Firehouse subs, one in 2016 for $10,675 and one in 2018 for $19,046. Firehouse subs was started by Florida firefighters. Their foundation began following Hurricane Katrina, when the stores provided food to first responders and survivors. We are thankful for the support of our local Firehouse Subs franchise in Mentor. In 2012, we received $720 from the Elks Grant, which assisted us in getting our lockbox program up and running. Our local McDonald's funded a total of $1,000 for educational handouts. NOPEC dollars awarded to Concord Township are primarily for energy-related projects, and our portion of the 2018 award, $24,000, enabled us to replace a broken HVAC equipment at Station 1, bay heaters at Station 1, and the AC system, a fire prevention and education facility. So I just wanted to give you that overview, and certainly every year that goes by, when a grant opportunity opens, we are on it. We are looking at it to make sure if it's a viable option for us, if our needs meet the criteria of that project. If it does, then it's worth spending the money on and the time. So, any questions?
Thank you, Chief. No,
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Moving on to our service department, Tim Brown.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. The service department in the month of August was very busy. The concrete crew has been out performing concrete slab replacement in several areas of the township. Crews replaced approximately 290 yards of concrete this month, and to date, approximately 600 yards have been poured. The areas that received the repairs in August were Amanda, Wintry, and Summerhill. The crack seal crew finished their lengthy list of roads in the second week of August and then transitioned into performing the Durapatch repairs. Durapatch repairs have been performed on the Hawthorne Woods, Cherry Hill, and Fay Road allotments. Clear Lake and Ridgewater are the next on the list. Other activities performed by the service department was ditch maintenance and culvert replacement throughout the township. A request for do not litter signs was received and the signs have been ordered. We hope to have them installed within the next 10 days. The service department is still providing the yard waste dumpster and will continue to until mid-November. Residents may drop off yard waste in paper biodegradable bags Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. On the agenda tonight is a request to purchase a John Deere 4x6 Gator utility vehicle and a 22-foot 16,000 GVW equipment trailer. Both pieces of equipment were budgeted within the service department annual budget this year. The service department would like to remind residents that if they need any questions or concerns taken care of, that they can give us a call at 440-350-3225 or email us at concordtwp.com. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Appreciate it. Moving on to zoning, Heather Freeman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
During the month of August, the zoning department processed 32 zoning permit applications and collected $4,000 in fees. That brings our year-to-date total to 252 zoning permits. Additionally, we performed 91 inspections on open zoning permit applications and followed up on 14 complaints about potential zoning violations. Last night, the zoning commission met and they conditionally approved a project for a new medical office building that will be located at 8003 Auburn Road. This will be the second medical office building at this site. So we're excited about that new addition to Concord. Finally, the September BZA meeting will be canceled as we have no new applications for this month to consider. And with that, I just want to thank you and have a safe holiday Labor Day weekend.
Same to you. Thank you
Thanks.
very much. Moving on to our rec department, and we do not have Deborah Esker here tonight, but providing her report will be Andy Rose. Thank you, Mr. Rose.
I will do my best to live up to Deb Esker's enthusiasm.
It's a hard act to follow, though.
Can you believe August is gone already? Here we are, we're in September, the weather's gonna get a little bit cooler, the leaves are gonna start to turn, and boy, do we have some classes that fall into this, and we're ready for this. Okay, we've got 38 individual in-person classes planned. We have 2 virtual classes offered. We have 21 community small group gatherings planned at the community center for September. We just can't wait to get people back in there. A couple of the highlighted classes, we've got baton for kids. We're finishing up the tennis lessons for kids. We've got yoga, Pilates fusion, along with beginning yoga. We've got everybody's favorite pound. We've got some American Mahjong. I heard that the service director, Tim Brown, is going to be taking the autumn grapevine wreath making class, so I'm very excited to see how that goes. And then in the virtual world, we've got piano lessons for adults. And then I heard somebody told me that Sheriff Liam Bruno signed up for the virtual ukulele basics class. So I'm very excited, and maybe we can get him to play at next year's Community Day
Yes.
and do an act for us. Wouldn't that be fun? Oh, we can get him some time in the gazebo. Hey, real quick and very important, the American Red Cross Blood Drive We're doing that every month. We had one today. It was very, very successful. All the appointments were booked. The next one, I believe, is the first Wednesday in October. So check the website and you can sign up with the American Red Cross and select the Concord Community Center and help everybody there. And then, you know, we've got this new series. Deb Esker talked about it last month. It's called Won't You Meet Your Neighbor? And it's guided local field trips to tour local historical sites in Concord. And on September 29th, we're going to be going to Connie Luda's legendary Concord Air Park to learn about the history of aviation in Concord Township with that air park. So that's going to be really exciting. And then finally, to wrap it up, on September 16th, Dan Maxon, our docent, is going to be presenting The Place to Be in Lake County. And that's going to be at the community center as part of the senior programs that are resuming. And we're just so excited to have them coming back into the building, and we'll be able to visit with them. And that concludes my report. My enthusiasm is over.
Excellent,
Nice.
excellent. Did very well there, very well. Okay, moving on to Township Law Enforcement. Sheriff Liam Bruno is with us tonight.
We didn't do anything in August. Thank you. August was busy. We had 1,077 calls for service that we were involved in. 17 arrests in Concord. One was for a murder on Pinecrest, and that person is in custody. We arrested a person on a warrant for murder on a stop in Route 84 in Chestnut, and they are in jail, along with the adult female that was with them on an OVI. We had 3 drug arrests. We had one unlawful sexual conduct with a minor arrest, a number of thefts, and one false alarm arrest for Tri-Point Hospital. We handled 50 alarms. We did 132 warnings for traffic stops, 8 citations. We cited 8 people for driving under suspension, had 1 OVI arrest, did 87 business checks and 96 crime preventions. There are a number of investigations that will stop some people from going off the grid. 15 were animal complaints, 25 were disabled vehicle assists. We had 64 suspicious circumstances, 39 traffic complaints, 19 welfare checks, harassment, number of juvenile complaints as part of those investigations. 2 things I'd like to note is on scams. I know I bring them up all the time, but it doesn't seem to get to everybody. We just handled a call where a couple in Concord here went to the bank, got $18,000 out of their accounts because they were told their grandson was in jail. So it's the grandparent scam. And in this scam, the people came to their house and actually picked up the $18,000. Once they left, then the couple called and said they thought they might get scammed. Fortunately, unfortunately, the people involved were arrested in Westlake on a similar scam, and they're out of Florida, and we think there's about $150,000 that they have scammed people out of with this type of scam. But this is going on frequently, as well as lots of calls from the IRS that people are concerned about. IRS will not call you and ask for your money. The Apple ID, the Apple Card scam is rampant in our area, where they're calling that your account has been hacked. Please call us. Apple will not call you to tell you that your account has been hacked. But lots of people are being taken by this. The more people are using social devices like iPhones and Apple accounts and Venmo and all these other pay services, lots of money traveling and lots of ways to be taken advantage. Your bank's not going to call you, Social Security's not going to call you, Apple's not going to call you. Don't give your money out on the phone. If somebody says go get gift cards to pay them, that's a scam. If they ask you to go get money and transfer it, it's a scam. Call the sheriff's office, call your local police department. Before you give any money out, don't give your personal information out. But it's quite rampant in our area and lots of victims. For as often as it's said, there's still lots of victims out there. On our Sheriff's app and on our Facebook and on our press releases, we did some releases about the Apple scam. We also did, I did a release on grooming and kids being on the internet and how sexual predators track them on the internet, how they groom them by pretending they're somebody else, getting their personal information, and then getting them to show them pictures of themselves naked on the, and then once they do that, then they threaten, well, I'm going to tell your parents if you don't keep doing this. And people say, well, that wouldn't happen to my kids. It's happening quite often. And you need to pay attention to where your kids are on the internet and on their iPhones. Lastly, I won't be able to make it at the ukulele class. It's our annual kazoo concerto bash in Kalamazoo that weekend, so I won't be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Well done. Yeah, it's unfortunate. There's so much that going around. That's scams and things of that nature. It's just unfortunate. Okay, moving on to our audience portion of the meeting tonight. Is there anybody on with us on the telephone? If so, you could please state your name and address for the record.
I don't believe there's anybody on the phone today, sir.
Seeing none, we will move on to old business. Seeing that we have none, we will. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't realize. Apologize. Moving on to new business this evening. Item A, we have to vote for our August financial.
Chair, can we move up item C?
Oh, yes.
I think that would be nice to start on a high note.
Yes, we will start with item C. This is resolution 2020-28 for Citizen of the Year Award.
It is my pleasure to announce the 2020 Citizen of the Year. The Concord Township firefighters and first responders. Whereas Concord Township firefighters and first responders are friends, neighbors, and good citizens of Concord Township, and have, through their dedication to home, family, community, and profession, consistently set the finest examples for the values of good citizenship. And whereas firefighters and first responders put their lives on the line every day to keep our community safe and work tirelessly during times of crisis to confront danger, enabling the rest of us to isolate ourselves from it. And whereas their reliability, responsiveness, and professional skills not only keep us safe, but also serve to attract homeowners to a safe and thriving community and strengthen our business community's opportunity to grow. And whereas firefighters and first responders perform their job with the uncertainty of what can happen on a call, as well as the long-term physical and emotional hazards of their work, we recognize the scope and impact of every aspect of their jobs, from saving people from fires and violent accidents to holding the hand of a frightened child and helping a grandparent off the floor. And we recognize each of their contributions, big or small, makes a difference and impacts our township. and whereas recognizing first responders only for their high-profile sacrifices would be to ignore their everyday contributions to our society. In addition to battling fires, they also perform important fire prevention and education duties, including teaching our children how to be fire safe. And whereas we recognize our firefighters and first responders are the backbone of our community, and they are the men and women who leave their families and selflessly put themselves in harm's way to take care of others. We recognize the skill and tireless bravery of these heroes who readily assist people on what may be the worst day of their lives with respect and integrity. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Concord Township Board of Trustees, Lake County, State of Ohio, on behalf of the residents of Concord Township, do hereby with great privilege recognize and pay honor and tribute to Concord Township firefighters and first responders as the Concord Township Citizen of the Year for 2020.
I so move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
She would have done.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, good call.
Well done.
Congratulations.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to our August financial report.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the August financial report.
Is there a
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item B is Resolution 2020-27, accepting the amounts and rates from Budget Commission. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Resolution 2020-27, resolution accepting the amounts and rates determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the law.
And I second.
All in favor? Roll call. Oh, roll call. Yeah.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucci?
Yes.
Mr. Dondorfer?
Yes. Item C. No, we did that. Item D, this is also a roll call, permanent appropriations.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the Township Annual Appropriation Resolution for Concord Township 2020-29.
I second.
Mrs. Dawson, roll call?
Mr. Dondorfer?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucci?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Item E.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve a step increase to $18.58 per hour for maintenance worker 2 David Weber, effective 8/20/2020.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Item F.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve PO for in the amount of $12,000 to Hull & Associates for professional engineering services.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item G.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve a service department PO in the amount of $8,715 to O'Reilly Equipment for a trailer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item H.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve service department PO in the amount of $12,748.30 to Lake Erie Lawn and Garden for a John Deere gator.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Item
Mr.
I.
Chairman, I move that we approve the allocation of our CARES Act funds in the amount of $3,000 to the Lake County Fair Housing Board.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tonight, Mrs. Dawson is going to cover for us the items voted on in last staff.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer. The RC3 records retention schedule list for destruction. Mr. McIntosh moved to accept the RC3 records retention schedule list for destruction. Mrs. Lucci seconded. The vote was 3 ayes. There was a public hearing set for September 16th, 2020, 7:20 p.m. via WebEx for street lighting petitions for Quail Hollow Phase 10, 1B, District Unincorporated of Concord Township. You had previously in March voted for 1A. This is a continuation down Hunting Lake Drive in Quail Hollow. Zoning Department, there was a Mylar for Lily Farm subdivision, residential conservation development, final plat. Mr. McIntosh moved to approve the Mylar for Lily Farm subdivision, residential conservation development, final plat. Mrs. Lucci seconded, vote 3 ayes. And there was an approval of 6-month orientation increase of $500 per year for Tim Brown, Service Director, effective August 10th, 2020, per the offer letter dated January 22nd, 2020. Mrs. Lucci moved to approve the 6-month orientation increase of $500 per year for Tim Brown, Service Director, effective August 10th, 2020, per offer letter dated 1/22/2020. Mr. McIntosh seconded. There was a vote of 3 ayes. Would you like me to go ahead and finish with the future meetings and announcements, Mr. Dondorfer?
Yeah, you can cover those.
Or did you have,
No,
did
you
you
can
want
you
some
can
more
cover
discussion?
those, and then I have a few comments.
My apologies. Future meetings and announcements. On Monday, September 7th, will be closed in observance of Labor Day. On Wednesday, September 9th, the formerly scheduled BZA meeting has been canceled. And on Wednesday, September 16th at 6:30 p.m., trustee office hours here at Town Hall. 7:20 p.m., the public hearing for the Quail Hollow Phase 10 1B District Unincorporated for their lighting petition will be held. And at 7:30 p.m. that same evening, our regular trustee meeting here at Town Hall.
Thank you, Mrs. Dawson.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
So before we close tonight, I'd like to thank Mr. Rose for doing his due diligence in providing us some factual information as far as the cost for this fire station project. I think it's important for our residents to be educated when they go to the polls this fall as far as this decision on this project. And we want those people and our residents to be provided with factual information. Unfortunately, recently there's been some inaccurate information, I think, provided either on social media streams or through lip pieces that, I think it's important for us as trustees to correct that information and provide the actual facts that are out there. And I just, a couple of things that I've been asked by residents who reached out to me regarding some things that some information they saw on social media or something they may have received was that, in 2019, when this, the first levy was put on, that was for 0.83 mils. That was a $10 million budget estimate that was listed. And then we did our due diligence to reduce that by $2 million and proposed a 0.6 mil levy, borrowing $8 million. There were some questions asked to me because some of the information being circulated is that in 2019 it was 8.9 million, not 10 million, and that figure came from the AECom cost estimate that was provided after we provided the budget estimate of $10 million. So I think that's important because if you look at that information that's being circulated, and it was questioned to me, was that it doesn't appear that there was reduced cost in what we did to try to reduce the costs in this project. So it's actually, the factual information is in 2019, we provided a budget estimate of 10 million, and in 2020, we're providing a budget estimate of 8 million, and we reduced the cost significantly in that regard, in the cost savings of $2 million. So I think that's important for residents to know as far as being educated on what the facts are regarding this project. Also, there was some information stated that these stations are extravagant and they should be reduced in size. And we covered that in our stakeholder meeting. We did make reductions in the size, and we also indicated in those meetings that that most of the square footage was in the bay areas that we use to store our apparatus and our engines and things of that nature. So there's no want here. This was all needed space. So some of the information I was asked about, or was being circulated, was that they're not reasonable. In size or cost, and I don't think that's,
Well,
don't think that's factual.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. I mean, we've covered it extensively. I know that I've done a pretty diligent amount of effort going through these layouts and performing some analysis of the square footage, and we've covered that in the stakeholder meetings. These aren't overbuilt. These stations are basically getting Concord Fire Department up to a facility that realistically meets the demand for today. I mean, it's so far behind. We don't ask the service department to plow the roads with pickup trucks, you know. So I think this is an appropriate project as far as that. I also think it's interesting the fact that we look at this project, it's so often that we hear the amount of interest that's rolled into that. Well, when you look at peer communities and you see articles published and so forth, you don't see the interest rate rolled into that conversation. When people buy homes, you don't include the interest in the price of the house. It's evaluated to the point Mr. Rose and his RMS figures. I mean, then you don't throw that into it. So I find that rolling that in is a bit of a misleading bit of the conversation. Of course, interest is always assumed to be part of a capital project. With respect to last year, I also found it interesting that it's being said that the project isn't changed, but yet last year I heard $17 million, I heard $25 million, and I heard $20 million. So there were three figures thrown out last year, and yet now a fourth figure thrown out with the statement that the project hasn't changed. So I guess I'm kind of questioning, so we can just move numbers around and then say the project doesn't change, but something's changing. The numbers aren't staying the same. So I don't understand the discrepancy there, and it's disappointing that that kind of misinformation is floating around for sure.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to just clarify with some points this evening that, you know, we want the residents in Concord to be armed with factual information. If they have a question, certainly reach out to us. Many have. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we want to save our seniors, and we need to give our seniors the correct information so that to empower them to make their own decisions. Again, I've seen different numbers floating around. I've seen residents concerned that, you know, it's really going to be more than, you know, $21 per 100,000. I think there's a lot of doubt that people have based on comments that we see on social media, and so we just wanted to kind of set the record straight. We're always available for questions and confirmations at any time.
You know, I something that's occurred to me in thought, you know, Ms. Lucci, what you said about the costs and so forth, and well, it's going to get out of control. Well, it really can't. If you look at the proposal of what Concord is preparing to do, and that's the bottom line is we're preparing by the end of this project to have contributed 30% of the cost of the project. So the levy that we're asking residents to support won't pay for all of it. So really, the impetus is on us to keep the cost down because we're only asking for so much. So cost overruns become a problem for us because we definitely have a fixed budget. And you know, to the point, I also saw some floating around, and as we heard Ms. Dawson say this morning, we don't have $3 million sitting around. We cannot start Station 2 next year or next week. We're not in that position to do that. I think we've made that clear yet. I know it was published in the News Herald that the trustees should proceed with the $3 million they have. I don't know where that is because I don't see it. I know the board has not, we entered the stakeholder meetings to consider input from people to dialogue. We didn't start out intending to do this. I know that we had a lot of conversation and deliberation about it. And the financing wasn't made just in case. When we took a look at the $8 million, and we used the way we use the JED funds in Concord, if we were to borrow less, we would tie up more of those things. And if we had unanticipated costs, the township might have to ask for other tax increase, or we would be in a position to say that we'd have to say no to something that could be pretty critical to the township. So I think this board has responded responsibly by borrowing an appropriate amount of money for an appropriate project.
And I think one of the strong messages that was brought up at the stakeholder meeting was that, you know, these stations need to be affordable. And I think that we've demonstrated that. We've reduced the cost since 2019 by $2 million. We are shielding 60% of our township from any new tax burden. And those that do have to contribute, it's a minimal ask at $5 a month or $21 per 100,000. So I think we made it affordable. And that's why, you know, just in closing tonight, I wanted to make sure we corrected some of the inaccurate information that was being provided that people had asked me about. And we're going to provide you the facts and the real information. So if anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to contact one of the trustees. And in closing, we wish you all well and have a safe and enjoyable Labor Day holiday. That concludes our meeting tonight. We're adjourned.